Terrorist who murdered an innocent father and held a woman hostage in a Brighton apartment had planned to lure police into a death trap. Investigators are now confident Yaqub Kaya, who claimed to be inspired by Islamic State, was acting on his own. The Prime Minister is demanding to know how a violent extremist with a long criminal history was allowed out on parole and left free to kill.
Luring police into a death trap, a terrorist set out to cause carnage in suburban Melbourne, forcing officers to respond with their own lethal force. The shootout sent terrified Brighton locals running for cover. Inside the Buckingham Serviced Apartments, a worker lay dead and a female hostage was trapped.
Oh my God, gunshots. Holy sh**.
Residents hid in their homes as police tried to end the siege without any more innocent victims. But 29-year-old Yaqub Kaya, who arrived in Australia as a child from Somalia, had a death wish. He had already murdered 36-year-old receptionist Nick Howe, married just 15 days ago. His only mistake being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
We were in the front room looking out the window at all of the operations people taking aim at the apartments and hiding behind fences, and then sometime after, all of a sudden, all just hell broke loose and rapid fire, and we all just jumped onto the floor, and I was just yelling to the kids, just keep your head down, because we didn't know where it was coming from.
Armed with a sawn-off shotgun, Kaya waited inside the apartment building until Special Operations Group police arrived. Then he burst out, firing at police. Dozens of shots were exchanged and the Roxburgh Park man fell in a barrage of bullets.
They've done an outstanding job down at that scene, put themselves at extreme risk.
The first sign of trouble was just after 4 o'clock when people in the area heard what they thought was an explosion. In fact, it was the fatal shots used to murder the receptionist. At 4:11, the hostage called 000 and told the operator of the killing. Local police arrived at the scene and began evacuations. At the same time, an alarm was triggered as the gunman, who was on parole, cut off his electric monitoring bracelet. The Critical Incident Response Team, Special Operations Group and Bomb Response Unit were called. At 5:41, the hostage and gunman made a call to the 7 newsroom.
So he said, this is for IS, this is for Al-Qaeda. And obviously something like that, you can't believe what you're hearing, so I asked him to repeat it, and he said the same thing again, and then he hung up.
The siege ended in gunfire shortly after 6 o'clock. Heavily armed police took no chances as they stormed the building. Bill Sippis had been there to visit friends and was taken into custody before being released.
Well, I didn't know what was going on. Guns getting pointed at me everywhere. I'm thinking, mate, I'm innocent. Like, I haven't done anything.
The female hostage, a 36-year-old Colombian escort, had her eyes covered as she fled the building. She was traumatised but not injured. 3 members of the Special Operations Group suffered gunshot wounds as they came to her rescue. Brighton locals struggled to believe the deadly siege was real.
There was probably about 60 people standing behind me around Coles and on the corner here at Hillcrest. And as the shots rang out, we watched everyone run. It was extraordinary. I mean, really, it was like seeing something from an overseas terrorist attack.
Obviously, it's not what you expect in Brighton.
Even before the siege, Yaqub Kaya was a serious violent offender. He was charged and later acquitted of a plot to take part in a suicide attack on the Holsworthy Army Barracks in Sydney. In December last year, he was released on parole after being jailed for a violent home invasion.
There's plenty of law enforcement effort going into making sure that we know everything that's sat behind this. Motivation individual, whether this was planned or spontaneous.
The bomb squad combed the apartment block overnight and again this morning. Among the items seized by forensic police was a book with Arabic writing on the cover. Detectives are now trying to work out how Yaqub Kaya got hold of his gun and why he chose Brighton to carry out the deadly attack.
This terrorist attack by a known criminal, a man who was only recently released on parole, is a shocking, cowardly crime.
Kaya was on the ASIO terror watch list, but in recent years he had been considered less of a threat. Until last night, when a man regarded as little more than a northern suburbs criminal brought terror and death to Melbourne. Cameron Bowe, 7 News.